Holly Cairns.
Thanks, Lascia and Corla. First of all, Minister, I'd like to commend you on your engagement with the industry so far. I think it's quite rare with big issues like this that when you're engaging with stakeholders, they've had so much correspondence with the Minister, so I hope you keep it up and I commend you for it. We're all aware of the considerable concerns in the fishing sector with the Brexit agreement, seeing a total loss of 43 million, with Ireland surrendering a greater percentage of quota than most EU states. We need reassurance for coastal and island communities that you're going to put in place schemes to support those who need it the most. I have a number of items to raise and I'll give you time to respond afterwards, if that's okay. Firstly, the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund is a crucial support for sustainable fishing and the economic development of coastal areas. Its predecessor has proven vital in fostering innovations to develop sustainable markets for small-scale and island fishing communities to stay alive. I'm wondering, when will the text of the new scheme be available to you and other stakeholders, and will you provide stopgap investments for current projects like the government's doing with the LEADER programme at the moment? Secondly, there are ongoing issues around the designation of ports for landing of UK registered Northern Irish boats. The excessive re-registering costs are simply not an option for many. I'm sure you know that. Also, the 24-hour notice for landing is simply unworkable for a lot of people. So can you ensure the further designation of ports to those already announced, and will you use exemptions to notice periods until fishers have had a chance to adapt to the new arrangements? Next, in relation to quotas and decommissioning, with the loss of 15% of our quotas, I'm wondering, do you plan to address this loss? And is there plans to establish a decommission scheme? I know previous schemes have been at the cost often of small scale and inshore fishing. It's the type of fishing we need to promote. And it has been to the advantage of larger and commercial fishing. I think it's really important that any potential decommissioning scheme needs to prevent this inequity going forward and not allow the sector to become dominated by a small number of big players. Finally, so many of these issues can be connected with how decisions are made and whose interests are being prioritised. For many small-scale fishermen and women, it can feel like the government is working against them rather than fighting for them. Certainly in successive governments, I hope that will change. They represent the type of sustainable fishing that has been practiced for generations in West Cork and other coastal and island communities. However, successive governments have focused on the larger, more lucrative, and when I say more lucrative, I mean more lucrative for the few, not the many, and the more damaging types of fishing. So it's essential that you facilitate granting of PO status to small-scale representative groups to better reflect all of the different types of businesses, family business, island and coastal communities, who are often overshadowed by the larger players. Ireland has a diverse coastline with different requirements at regional level. Minister, can you please assure the organisations that are seeking producer organisation status that you and your officials will proactively work with them to ensure this? Their voices need to be heard at this crucial time for the industry. Currently, many are feeling frustrated and held up by bureaucratic technicalities. The department should be out there working with them to meet requirements. That's the type of department fishing communities need. Can you make it happen in relation to producer organisations? If you could prioritise that question, it'd be great.
Straight up. Minute and a half.
First of all, just thank you, Deputy Cairns, for your contribution and overview of the challenges. On your last point, first of all, in relation to PO status for smaller groups, I certainly will be working with them and trying to facilitate where appropriate. I recently met with the Irish Islands Marine Resource Organisation, which I know have an application live and represent about 40 various vessels, and certainly I'm working with them. But also I think it is important that we can facilitate. Producer organisations are a really important way to ensure fishermen are represented and engaged with government as well. On the point regarding re-registering of Northern Irish boats, you'll have heard my contribution earlier on in relation to that. Unfortunately, Brexit has radically altered the legal position between Britain and, in particular, and the EU, and also the particular arrangements that are in place now for Northern Ireland. Particularly, there's issues there and a totally altered legal situation now between the UK Common Fisheries Policy and the EU Common Fisheries Policy. So So in order to designate any port, there has to be significant regulatory oversight available to do that. I've been working closely with SFPA and doing the best that has been possible, given resources is there, to accommodate the designation of 7 reports now, where it was 2 before. We can't, though, unfortunately, do away with the additional red tape and administration that is going to come with that designation. There is going to be, for example, that 4-hour notice period. That's a requirement under IUU and NEFC regulations, and also the need, for example, for a catch certificate from the Northern Irish authorities for that catch to be landed. So there's still real challenges there. But certainly, as Minister, I was keen to do all I could to try and facilitate them within reason.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.